Jay-Z is speaking out this morning after the civil suit accusing him and Sean Diddy Combs of was dropped. NBC's Chloe Malas is here with more. Chloe, good morning.
Hey guys, good morning. The lawsuit was withdrawn by the accuser's attorney, Tony Buzbee, on Friday with prejudice, meaning it cannot be refiled. Now, this lawsuit had originally been filed in December on behalf of a woman only known as Jane Doe.
Be a voice for yourself. You should never let what somebody else did run your life.
A 38-year-old mother from Alabama who has filed a lawsuit accusing Sean Diddy Combs and Jay-Z of her when she was 13 years old is speaking out to NBC News for the first time. She asked us not to reveal her identity.
What makes them so mad is when you don't want to be a part of their club. That pisses them off.
For months, hip-hop mogul Jay-Z has been entangled in a lawsuit so serious that many believed it could tarnish his legacy for good. The allegations were unsettling, and the potential fallout seemed devastating. But just like that, it's over. The lawsuit has officially been dismissed.
Jay-Z is staying on the offensive, going after not only the attorney who filed the lawsuit against him and Diddy, that would be Tony Buzbee, the attorney, but also the accuser. And he has filed a new motion this morning, which we're going to get to in a moment, but basically he wants to level the playing field with the accuser. But first, we got to start with this response that Jay-Z had to the allegation. Catch you up real quick if you hadn't heard, but a woman who had filed a lawsuit against Diddy back in October, alleging that he had her at a VMA after party in the year 2000, when she was only 13 years old.
Right. Remember, this is when she allegedly was given a drink. She felt woozy, and there was Diddy, and there was a male celebrity who was unnamed at the time, and also a female.
Well, that unnamed celebrity is now named, and she refiled the lawsuit on Sunday. She and her attorney, Tony Buzbee, refiled it and named Jay-Z as the unnamed celebrity involved in the. Jay-Z's response is extraordinary in that, and look, we've seen all these lawsuits against Diddy, dozens of them now at this point, and frequently his response has been to deny it, but to say nothing else. Jay-Z went way more than just denying it. He did do that, but then went directly after the attorney. Part of his statement said, "My lawyer received a blackmail attempt from a lawyer named Tony Buzbee. It made me want to expose you, Tony Buzbee, for the fraud you are in a very public fashion. So no, I will not give you one red penny." This lawyer, who I have done a bit of research on, seems to have a pattern of these types of theatrics. You claim to be a Marine. Marines are known for their valor. You have neither honor nor dignity. There were other shots at Tony Buzbee in his statement where he called him an ambulance chaser in a cheap suit.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, and if you've heard Tony Buzbee's name before, it's because he seems to always find his way. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but he seems to always find his way into the big case, Charles, right? I mean, if it's Travis Scott, if it's Deshaun Watson, the NFL quarterback, he's always involved.
So Jay-Z had that strong response.
Yeah.
Tony Buzbee isn't backing down, and in fact said that he denied that there was any extortion. He said, my client merely reached out and wanted to have a confidential mediation.
Right.
Now, I got to say, I don't know what that confidential mediation would be about other than money.
Right.
But his point is, the letter itself did not make any request for money.
Right, though I'm sure that was coming.
Yeah, it sounds like Buzbee's response was a little bit disingenuous. The confidential mediation would be where they would broker a settlement and not have the issue go public in the way that he did. He also mentioned that Jay-Z has sued him, and that got us thinking. There was a lawsuit, an anonymous lawsuit filed against Buzbee alleging extortion.
Back in November, yeah.
That's right. And now Jay-Z, in his recent motion that you referenced earlier, has said, yeah, that was me. Because when you sent your demand letters to me, I then went forward, stood my ground with an extortion lawsuit against you. And now if you're going to continue this whole spectacle, I want the accuser's name out there as well. She shouldn't be able to sue me as a Jane Doe. He says, fair is fair. This is a response to, this is retaliation for me standing my ground when you tried to extort me. And now let's just get it all out there.
Right. So the follow the beats here. First, Diddy is sued.
Right.
The unnamed celebrity, and at the time when we covered that, we thought the fact that they didn't name this person sounded like they were probably reaching out to that person to try and get a settlement.
Right.
Jay-Z says that is exactly what happened. And when he turned him down, he thinks that the only reason they have now refiled this and put his name in there is retaliation for Jay-Z suing Tony Busby for extortion. So this is going around and around, but a very strong denial from
It is, and it's look, we've seen, and not just in this Diddy situation, we've seen a lot of cases in the past where celebrities have been accused of wrongdoing. This hardly ever happens, Charles, where you see the person under fire, the celebrity, fire back and this intensely.
Right, back at the attorney and then filing this motion for the accuser.
Right, he is not taking this lying down, clearly.
And look, you're allowed to file documents anonymously, particularly where there's allegations that she was only 13 when this happened. So that's not uncommon to see. But Jay-Z now thinks this is an extortionate plot. And he says, in order to unearth all of this and unmask it all, we now need to know the identity of that person. And since it happened in 2000, she's obviously of age now. She's alleging that she was 13 in the year 2000. And he's saying we need to put all our cards on the table. I need to be able to identify my accuser and actually fight this lawsuit on its terms, on its face.
Yeah, I think it would be extraordinary, I think, Derek, if the judge did force the accuser to, this is the really alarming part of this case, is that we're talking about a 13-year-old is the alleged victim, a woman who was at the time 13. And by the way, Tony Busby isn't backing down, said that his client remains steadfast in her resolve in this case, that she will not back down and that she's going to continue to seek justice.
Now 34 years old, the woman came forward to NBC News after Jay-Z's name was linked to the case, sharing her chilling account of events from over 2 decades ago. Her revelations sent shockwaves through Hollywood, and for a moment, it seemed like Jay-Z's empire was on the verge of collapse. His name was suddenly entangled in one of the most shocking allegations the industry had seen in years.
What made you want to come forward and talk today?
Because I think that I've been quiet long enough about what I've been through, and it's been hard enough to be quiet. But it's a chapter of my life that I'd like to close.
An NBC News review of her account found inconsistencies with her allegations. She says that she went to the MTV Video Music Awards in 2000 to catch a glimpse of her favorite celebrities.
You weren't scared to be all alone?
No, with having autism is like feeling like you live your life in a shatterproof juggle ball. The world's on fire. The fire is inside the ball with you, but there's no way for you to get out.
In addition to having autism, the woman says she suffered a head injury. The night of the 2000s VMAs, she says a friend drove her from Rochester, New York to Manhattan, a more than 5-hour drive. Her attorney provided NBC News with the name of the friend who has since died. The woman says she spoke to Combs's limo driver, who offered her a ride to an after party.
I stumbled upon Diddy's driver, who told me that I was exactly what Diddy was looking for.
What did you think when he said that to you?
I thought it meant that I was just pretty.
She went to a White House, she says, where she spoke to musicians Benji Madden and his brother.
I'm talking to Benji Madden about his tattoo because, I have about his tattoo that's the Last Supper, because I have a religious background. So it was just something to talk about.
In a statement to NBC News, a representative of the Maddens confirmed that they did not attend the 2000 VMAs and that they were on tour in the Midwest at the time. At the after party, she says she had a drink that made her feel woozy. Then she says Combs and Carter took turns her while a female celebrity watched.
Jay-Z comes in and me. Well, he at that point I was fighting, trying to get away from him, and he put his hand over my mouth and told me to stop it, cut the
After the alleged she says she ran to a gas station where she called her father, who picked her up and drove her home.
We rode home in silence. He didn't ask me what happened. He didn't ask me what I did or where I was.
In an interview with NBC News, her father said he could not verify the claims. Quote, I felt like I would remember that, and I don't. I have a lot going on, but I mean, that's something that would definitely stick in my mind, he said. When we asked the woman about the contradictions in a phone interview on Friday, she said that she stands by her statements. I have made some mistakes, she said. Honestly, what is the clearest is what happened to me. The inconsistencies in her account of an incident alleged to have happened 24 years ago does not necessarily mean the allegations are false. The accuser's attorney, Tony Busby, said, "Because we have interrogated her intensely, she has even agreed to submit to a polygraph. This has been extremely distressing for her, to the point she has experienced seizures and had to seek medical treatment due to the stress." In a statement to NBC News, Sean Carter said, "This incident didn't happen, and yet he filed it in court and doubled down in the press. True justice is coming. We fight from victory, not for victory."
Is any part of you scared coming out against such powerful people?
Yeah, I'm scared of what could happen, but I'm more afraid of letting it eat me alive from the inside out than I am of, being chastised by their fans.
All right, Chloe Malas joining us now live. Chloe, we just heard a very strongly worded statement from Jay-Z. What else are you hearing from him and his team?
Yeah, so his attorney said that they're going to ask the court to, quote, dismiss this frivolous case. And also moments ago, we heard from Diddy's legal team, and I want to read you some of what they said. They said, quote, "This is the beginning of the end of this shameful money grab." And remember, he remains behind bars at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, and his criminal trial begins in May.
Jay-Z's legal team wasted no time in launching their counterattack. From the start, his attorneys aggressively challenged inconsistencies in the woman's story. Some legal analysts even argued that the case began to weaken the moment she went public. Why? Because once the media gets involved, narratives shift, sides are taken, and the judicial system turns into a battlefield of public perception. Her decision to speak out was bold, but according to legal experts, it may have ultimately done more harm than good to her case.
This interview was incredibly risky. This case is now playing out in the media as opposed to in the courtroom. And the risk in any case is that anything that's said in an interview, in the media, no matter what the medium, it can come back into the courtroom and be used as fodder for cross-examination. So all of these inconsistencies, which clearly the plaintiff side wanted to get this narrative out in the public sphere, but those inconsistencies are going to be exploited when it comes time for a trial, when it comes time for testimony. And so sitting down outside the courtroom is often a very, very risky decision to make. This is such a high-profile case, and with every single legal filing, there's so much attention and scrutiny on not only the claims, but the response from the defendants, so everything is playing out very publicly. It's likely that the plaintiff's attorney, Tony Busby, sat down and made a calculated risk, thinking that getting this narrative out, addressing these inconsistencies right at the very beginning, before they're hoodwinked with them later, was an appropriate path for this particular case with all of the attention. That being said, it's always going to be a balance test of risk versus reward. Clearly here, they thought the benefit outweighs the risk and moved forward with the interview. First, just because there are inconsistencies in the plaintiff's story doesn't necessarily mean the allegations are false. This is a case that's over 20 years old. The incident at issue happened in the year 2000. With any case of this age, it can be difficult to get corroborating evidence, to find witnesses. Memories fade, and that's true also of the plaintiff. In this particular case, these inconsistencies could be attributed to the lapse of time and also some medical issues that she's raised. So her medical conditions could play into this case in a way to explain why maybe she doesn't have a memory of some facts, or why there's been inconsistencies in her story over time. So that could absolutely be a component of the case, because in a civil case, she will testify. She has to testify, and everything will come down to credibility. Any inconsistencies in her story will be hammered on cross-examination, and the jury is going to want to hear why the story may have evolved over time, and this would be an explanation. That being said, from a defense perspective, it is her burden to prove the case. A plaintiff has the burden to prove the case by a preponderance of the evidence. And so when there are inconsistencies in the story, and the story has changed as time has gone on, that is something the defense will absolutely jump on. And the argument will be, why would you believe one aspect of her story, which is necessary in order to be successful in the courtroom, when she's proven to have given false information, whether it be intentionally or not, with respect to other aspects of the story? It's a phrase, falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus. False in one thing, false in everything. And that's what the defense will say to the jury at the end of the trial.
Jay-Z's attorney is doubling down on a denial that his client ever a 13-year-old girl. Now, Jay-Z has already fiercely denied these accusations, and his legal team has already asked the court to dismiss this case entirely. But now, for the first time speaking to reporters since these accusations came out, Jay-Z's attorney, Alex Spiro, held a press conference of sorts. There was a private meeting at Jay-Z's Rock Nation offices in New York City where CNN was invited to watch a presentation put on by Jay-Z's attorney, where he had a PowerPoint where he showed different details that he says disprove Jane Doe's case. Let's take a look at some of what he said.
This is not an account of inconsistencies. I wanted everybody to understand that this never happened. This is completely false. You have to look at the timeline. You have to look at the timeline. So there's an old expression that time doesn't lie. Everything else that I'm talking about, these glaring inconsistencies, these are not minor inconsistencies. These are not minor problems with this story. This is utter falsehoods. Time never lies. And so if you look at the time, no matter what, this couldn't have happened. It's not even possible that this happened.
Now, as you heard there, Jay-Z's attorney saying that these aren't just inconsistencies in Jane Doe's case. He's saying that the entire thing is false. In fact, he says it's not even possible that Jay-Z was there. Now, if we go back to Jane Doe's initial complaint, she alleges that she was by both Jay-Z and Sean Diddy Combs at an after party for the MTV Video Music Awards in the year 2000. Now, this after party, she said, was held at a White House that was outside of the city. Well, Jay-Z's attorney actually showed photos of Jay-Z that night at an after party, but it was in New York City. So he says, if you look at the timeline, it's not possible that Jay-Z was in the suburbs at this alleged after party because he was photographed being somewhere else. Now, in her initial complaint, Jane Doe also said that she got to this alleged after party by getting into a limo from a driver outside of the MTV VMAs who said that they worked for Sean Combs. Well, today, Jay-Z's attorney is saying that's not possible because the limousine line was barricaded by the police and fans were not able to access.
Meanwhile, Jane recently dropped a bombshell of his own, claiming he was present during the alleged incident. For years, he has been one of the most outspoken figures shedding light on what goes on behind closed doors in the entertainment industry. His first-hand account of that night adds yet another layer of complexity to an already convoluted case.
Boy Diddy, he back in the news. How you feel about what him and Jay-Z being accused of?
Well, when I first heard the conversation, when I first heard the allegations, I said to myself, that's 2000, that's when I was there. And so I got to read what was said and how it went down and everything like that. And then first of all, I start seeing some inconsistency. But I don't want to, criticize the victim or the person that said that they was a victim, but some of the statements and some of the things that I heard was incorrect. As far as I know for what we did at that time. First of all, we did not use limousines. We used SUVs in 2000. You know what I'm saying? So when she said that it was a limousine that picked her up or she went with a limousine driver, I was kind of skeptical and wanted to hear more about her story. So now she said that the limousine driver got her into a party, but somehow she had to went to a gas station, and if you know that area, there's no gas stations unless you walk all the way up to 96th Street. That's like 40-something blocks. So I was like, all you had to walk to the west side, which is another 14, 15 long blocks. And then you would have to know where you're going to find that gas station because it's close to the West Side Highway. Unless you went all the way downtown, and then who's gonna pick up from that far away from the, the venue where she went to. So, and then she said something about that, the allegation said something about that she went with the limo driver. So did the limo driver drop Puff them off or Jay them off, then came back and got her, then take her to the party? It was just a lot of inconsistencies that I was like, yo, first of all, we didn't even use limousines. You understand? Bad Boy used SUVs. So I found those being real inconsistent of what the story which she was talking about. And then for limousine driver who would know us, because our drivers didn't drive limousines, how you gonna tell somebody to get in the party? He had to go through security for that. And that just wouldn't have happened. That wouldn't have happened. So I don't want to beat up the victim or the person that says that they are a victim, but I know for myself, there's a lot of inconsistencies in what she was talking about regarding her being with somebody from Bad Boy, getting into a Bad Boy party, you understand, with a limo driver that we didn't even know. So, not trying to beat her up, not trying to save Jay or Diddy. But me personally, I didn't believe her story.
I mean, that says a lot coming from you being somebody that worked for Bad Boy at that time.
Well, what it says is that these people got to understand that there were people that was around. And then some people like myself, whether good, bad, or indifferent, I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to tell what I know, no matter what somebody else feel. You understand? And I ain't super saved Puff. I ain't super saved Jay. You understand? I'm not doing that. But I am going to tell the truth, you understand, regarding at that time when I was around, that we did not use limousines. There's no limousine driver gonna come to security and get nobody in no party at all. You understand? At all.
You personally, do you believe it?
My personal belief is that I can't say what happened to her, but regarding the allegations that she made and the picture that she painted, I don't believe what she was saying. And being 13 years old, you know, that's happening, walking around the streets of New York. I think they said she was from Alabama or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Nah, bro. Not walking the streets of New York, finding a gas station, nah.
And just as quickly as the lawsuit gained momentum, it was gone. If you were expecting a retrial or a possible comeback, think again. The case was dismissed with prejudice, meaning it can never be revived. It's officially over. But this leads to the burning question on everyone's mind. Why? The internet is buzzing with speculation. Did Jay-Z settle behind closed doors? Was a massive payout involved? Or was the case simply too weak to stand up in court?
Major news in the Jay-Z and Sean Diddy Combs case. Now, you may remember that last year, an anonymous Jane Doe filed a lawsuit against Diddy, accusing him of drugging and her at an MTV VMA after party back in the year 2000 when she was just 13 years old. Now, Sean Combs has denied those claims. Later on, Jane Doe filed an amended complaint naming Jay-Z as a defendant as well, also accusing him of her. Jay-Z vigorously denied those claims, but now Jane Doe has dropped her case. Attorneys for Jane Doe filed a voluntary notice of dismissal with prejudice, which means that she cannot refile this case in the future. Now, I reached out to an attorney for Jane Doe. He declined to comment, and I asked, was there a settlement agreement of any sorts behind the scenes? And he said no comment. Now, I reached out to an attorney for Jay-Z, and I want to read you this statement that they gave to me. They say in part, quote, "By standing up in the face of heinous and false accusations, Jay has done what few can. He pushed back, he never settled, he never paid one red penny, he triumphed and cleared his name." Now, Jane Doe had previously acknowledged inconsistencies in her story, but she always stood by her core allegation that she said that she was by both of these men. Now, I reached out to attorneys for Sean Combs, and they tell me that the dismissal of this lawsuit is, quote, "another confirmation that these lawsuits are built on falsehoods, not facts." Remember, Sean Combs is still facing more than 40 suits. He denies them all. He also has pleaded not guilty to the 3 charges that he is facing. He is currently in jail as he awaits his criminal trial, which is set to begin in May.
We are trying to find out why Houston attorney Tony Buzbee dropped a lawsuit that accused music mogul Sean Diddy Combs and Jay-Z of a 13-year-old girl. Buzbee claimed the happened at an MTV Video Awards after party in 2000. That lawsuit, filed on behalf of Jane Doe, is one of several Buzbee filed against Combs in recent months, but the only one that included Jay-Z. Now, in response, Jay-Z sued Buzbee last November, accusing him of trying to extort money in order to settle the case. Jay-Z issuing a statement today on his management company's website, Roc Nation, saying, in part, quote, "The fictional tale they created was laughable, if not for the seriousness of the claims. This 1-800 lawyer," referring to Buzbee, "gets to file a suit hiding behind Jane Doe, and when they quickly realize the money grab is going to fail, they get to walk away with no repercussions." Buzbee has said he represents more than 150 people who accuse Combs of. When I reached out to Buzbee tonight asking why he dismissed this particular lawsuit, he responded, no comment.
Tonight, on the Jay-Z recent stuff,
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Right.
I looked into that case and I actually don't believe
A lot
that.
of holes in it.
Yeah, that one doesn't pass the sniff test for me. But in terms of his relationship with Diddy, I would expect him to make some sort of a statement because, like I said, he is overtly political. So I just want people to keep the same energy. If you normally don't comment on matters, that's totally fine. But if you've been lecturing us for years about every other social ill, now would be a great time to use your platform for that same energy. If you were saying women are suffering, I'm with Kamala. Well, we've got some women that are suffering and have a lot of proof and evidence.
There's an accusation about Jay-Z and Diddy and a teenager, 13-year-old.
Right.
And we were speaking about just the statement. Right. The statement, you were saying you felt like that was calculated.
That was the statement is something from, you can tell it's written by a lawyer, because it's a point where it kind of gets aggressive. It says like you're gonna find out.
Hey Kizito, what do you think? How did Jay-Z escape this lawsuit? Was he truly innocent? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update. Until next time, fam, stay real.